Hello and good morning. Happy Tuesday, 7:30 a.m. here in North Chicagoland and my beautiful woods, and I'm enjoying summer as much as I possibly can. Because around here, and I'm sure with everywhere all around the world, the weather's been kind of dicey lately with all of the climate changes, environmental things going on. Just nothing's predictable anymore. We used to think the weather was the least predictable thing, and it's become even less so, even less predictable as to what will work and what won't and how much rain we're going to get. And so, yeah, it's a good reminder to enjoy every moment of every day that we possibly can. So I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body-mind expert, and I'm a shiatsu massage therapist, and I've been doing that for about 12 years. And my specialty is helping women who are in narcissistic or toxic relationships. Typically, somewhere along their lineage, they have some sort of childhood PTSD, either that was passed down from a family member or they themselves had to struggle with it. So typically there's that involved, and I'm a genius at getting the memories out of the body, rewiring your brain, getting you back on a good path, getting your body back into a healthy place. There's 5 main things that I focus on in order to get women to a really healthy place where they have the power back in their life again. They're the more fully formed, more whole version of themselves that they've always wanted to be. So today on our live stream, we're going to be talking about the grief and shame that keeps you trapped in a narcissist relationship. So, I talked to my psychologist a lot about this, where she's someone who helps keep me on my straight and narrow. Personally, I think we all are supposed to have people in our lives that keep us moving forward, because we really can't do it alone, especially in the chaotic, crazy world that we live in, where we don't have the same sort of family or community or cultural support that people have had in the past. We're pretty isolated, which means that we have to start reaching out. And one of the things we talk about is the rule of thumb that's out there around narcissism is to cut it off at all costs, go no contact, walk away, and whenever in the future you see anything that even vaguely reminds you of a narcissist relationship, that should be your red flag. There's turn around and run, and cut off anybody and everything that makes you unhappy. So that's not really very realistic, is it? I mean, if it's a romantic relationship, or if you've been doing this for a while, or if you've got support systems and family and health and all sorts of other things in place, to go no contact with a narcissist. If you came from a relatively healthy family, if you didn't have trauma, if you aren't financially entwined, if you don't have children together, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why women stay. But today we're going to talk about guilt and shame. One of the things that keeps us sort of not just stuck in a relationship, but also stuck energetically in our head, in our body, is the shame that we are in the situation that we're in. One of the biggest tragedies of my life was the fact that I was going through something that probably a lot of other people were going through at the same time, but I thought I was all alone. I thought I was the only one who would allow themselves to feel this way or be treated this way, or to feel or trapped this way, that I was the only one. Secrets are one of the things that keep us very trapped. And secrets, they harbor and they encourage the feeling of shame. Like, how did you get here? Why haven't you left? What's wrong with you? You're never going to find another job anyways. You're never going to find another relationship. There's nobody out there that really is healthy and capable enough to be able to deal with your issues. So you have to take the best that you can get and make the most of it. This is the way that things are always going to be. People will never change. There's all this feeling of being trapped, but it's not being trapped by a narcissist. It's being trapped by our own feelings. And many times, society and culture tells us we're supposed to feel a certain way or do a certain thing. And when we don't, then it's our fault. How many women have suffered domestic violence of emotional, physical, of some other sort, and they kept it a secret because they didn't want to tell anybody, because they knew if they told people would abandon them. They'd look at them as broken. They'd look at them as there's something wrong with you. I'll give a great example for domestic violence. Many times, women who are in domestic violence situations, they hide it from everybody. And once it comes out, there may be compassion. Oh, you're a battered woman. But when you stay, there's this additional level of shame, of this anchor, of this weight that holds you down, because now you're not just dealing with the situation at hand, which is a narcissist who's dramatic and melodramatic and temperamental and unpredictable, even more unpredictable than the weather, I think. And you're choosing to stay for whatever reason. And the shame that we get from being in the situation that we're in is really powerful, that many times we can't think past that. We can't think past how we feel, because how we feel is so strong, is so all-encompassing. It's always under the surface, even if it's at the front of our mind. We always have our radar out. We're always hyper aware of it. And it's using that energy to battle the shame of what our society and what our culture and what other women and what men and what workplaces and what parents and families and everything else tell us, is that why haven't you changed your life? It's your fault if you're still there, and that feeling of fault and that feeling of shame is deep, and it keeps us energetically trapped. Now, one of the other things that keeps us trapped in a narcissistic situation is grief. For many women who are in narcissistic relationships, either when they were children or while they've been in the relationship or in previous relationships, they've had something pretty big happen. And they were in a situation where the best choice, the choice that they needed to make at the time, was to shut their mouth, shove it down, and survive as best they could, to protect their psyche, maybe by disassociating, to protect their soul, getting into mood-altering drugs, to protect their sanity, by distracting themselves with things which can be more addictive. So we have this grief of not being able to speak our mind, feeling helpless, of feeling trapped, of feeling there's nothing we can do. And that grief, because it's buried and because it's attached to something that's kind of painful, made even more painful by the shame that's on us as to why aren't you just, XYZ, why aren't you just an amazing human being that can walk out and handle any situation that comes across. It's especially strong women who end up feeling a lot of shame because they've got no compassion for themselves. They haven't been able to have a lot of compassion for themselves ever. It's been about, well, you just shut up and you do what you need to do, and if it causes you a problem, it's your fault. You just need to keep going forward. It's that shame that definitely keeps us not getting help and not reaching out and not making healthy choices. And it's the grief of when we have let ourselves down, when we felt forced in helplessness, when it was learned submission, when we have pain, unrealized expressed pain, and unrealized expressed grief that keeps us trapped in this mindset. And in actuality, this is true for a lot of narcissists too, not just their victims. A lot of narcissists, they are trapped by their shame, they're trapped by their own suppressed guilt, and because they're trapped in this, they behave in ways which are off the charts, which are abusive, which are cruel, which are unkind. And they create in us, the victims, the secondary victims, the same feelings that they have, the helplessness and the anger and the hurt And whether this happened when you were a child, whether it was with a parent or another family member, whether this happened when you were an adult, doesn't matter. These emotions are imprinted on you too. You know, one of the biggest problems with childhood abuse, especially sex abuse, is the feelings of the narcissist, the feelings of the abuser, get imprinted on the child. And the child now associates whatever action with the high level of fear and anxiety that the abuser is going through. So the imprinting then turns us into people who are consumed with shame and guilt. And many times you don't know where it comes from. You don't know why you feel the way that you feel. And so the narcissist's shame, the narcissist's unresolved grief gets imprinted on their victims, becomes a part of their reality, a part of their tapestry. And so now you're not only carrying maybe your own past and the things that somehow you've managed to carry thus far, but now you have the extra added burden of someone else radically putting their problems and their fears and their stuck emotions on the people around them, especially on the people they feel comfortable enough doing that with in order to feel better. So it can be very confusing when we don't know where this guilt and when we don't know where this shame or this grief comes from, when it's been passed down or when it's been imprinted on us. And that's one of the hardest things. You know, narcissists in general, they have an idea why they behave the way that they behave, and they're okay with it. So they actually do things that keep them in balance. Whereas someone who is an empath, someone who's compassionate, if you're having these feelings of shame and overwhelm and grief, not all of them are yours. But if you don't know that they aren't yours, if you think they're all yours and they must be representative of the fact that there's something wrong with you and why don't you leave and why are you stuck and, you know, you could handle it before, so what's going on? You know, all this questioning. The way out of this big, nasty snark is to have compassion for the narcissist and to have compassion for yourself and to start making choices that make you feel healthy, make you feel happy, empowered, strong, supported, connected, wise, educated. You have to make those choices first. You have to do your healing work. You have to do your own evolution work. And when you get to a place where you are more stable, when you get to a place where you know how to navigate your own emotions, when you've let go of the things that aren't yours, when you've healed the things that are from the past, the grief and the shame that you've been carrying for a long time, when you work on those, it puts you into a position where leaving a narcissist becomes not that big of a deal, because you are no longer hijacked by your grief, unresolved grief and shame, or the narcissist's unresolved grief and shame, or society's unresolved grief and shame that blames you for being in a difficult situation. So it's time to cast off the things that aren't yours and heal the things that are and get into the next chapter of your life, okay? And you can do this. So today what I'd like you to do is go outside for a walk, whether it's cold, whether it's rainy, whether it's hot, no matter what it is. I want you to go outside for a walk and give yourself some love. Give yourself some compassion. Because life isn't all about being trapped in emotion. Life is about enjoying life. It's about loving yourself. It's about thinking loving thoughts. It's about feeling loving things. So be nice to yourself and love yourself today, just for a few moments, and breathe in the fresh air and connect with, you know, the trees or the grass or the birds or the squirrels. Let yourself breathe in that love, because that's actually some of the very first steps. Getting your needs met, nourishing yourself, getting out of the feeling of victimized and helpless and controlled, and into a feeling of comfort and pleasure and joy and groundedness. When you start doing more of those things, you start evolving into the person that you want to be, because you're finally getting what you want and what you need to survive. So if you're feeling stuck and you want to evolve, let me know. There's a couple different ways that I help women. One is a clarity call. One is where you get 2 calls with me, and the first one, we hear your story, and I get a real good sense of where you're at and what's going on. And then the second one is your path, is your journey, is your personal hero's journey. It's your personal roadmap to where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And it's whether you coach with me, whether you see a psychologist, whether you see a nutritionist, whether you start putting healthy things in place, whether you find support groups, it doesn't matter. It's not all about, getting something. It's about giving something and helping you get to the place that you need to be in order to be the highest version of yourself that you're supposed to be, okay? So if you're interested in a clarity call, let me know. I'll send you the link to apply, and we'll get you on the right path, okay? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm planning on it, and I'll talk to you later, okay? Bye.